Hello everyone, my name is Jasmo, and today is a Monday. Today is a Monday. Ugh. It's the second to last Monday in November, so it is still NaNoWriMo month, which is National Novel Writing Month. I guess it's NaNoWriMo, the month is in there. Anyways, National Novel Writing Month, where it is an open challenge to write 50,000 words, or a 50,000 word novel officially. Wordwin was kind enough to send me the actual written out rules to Nano, but Nano also encourages rebels. So you can write not just a 50,000 word novel, you can write other things like short stories, a continuation of novel. They really just specifically want you to count the words that you have typed in November. And there you go. I would like to open up today with a pep talk on Nano from Grant Faulkner, who unfortunately I have no idea who he is. I'm not an actual writer. I'm not really big in the writing scene, and I unfortunately don't even read a whole lot. I'm one of those people that almost never reads. I might get lucky if I read 1 or 2 books a year. And that's just because I had a really sour run-in with a series by an author that was, by me personally, they were just awful, and the stories were just awful, and I was hoping it would get better, and it didn't, and that turned me off to reading a lot because I was like, I didn't want to be disappointed again. How do I know if I'm going to enjoy this book? You know, how do I know I'm not going to waste my time? But anyways, the pep talk from Grant is probably well needed at this point, because it's a little past the halfway point in the month, and he touches on that. So, dear fearless writer who might just be a little fatigued at this point, when I was a boy, I watched a lot of old movies on TV, especially westerns. In nearly every western, there was a crucial moment when a character would accidentally step into quicksand. They'd try to lift their feet, but each time they did so, they'd sink deeper. They'd start to panic and flail about, but the more they'd try to escape, the deeper they would sink. I grew up thinking that the world was filled with random patches of quicksand. Fortunately, my worldview is inaccurate. Quicksand is a rarity in the world, and I never stepped into it. Until I wrote a novel, that is. Every novel I've written includes a minefield of quicksand located precisely in one place, the gaping expanse of the middle. I'll burst out of the gate on November 1st and sail along with the grand gusts of the beginning of my novel. Then I'll suddenly hit a slow patch, and then another slow patch. And then I'll realize I'm actually stuck and sinking. Every novel is full of such perilous moors. I call it the muddy middle, the place where most novels die. When you feel your words enter such swampy territory, it's easy to concede victory to those naysaying voices in your head, pulling you ever deeper into the quicksand. And sometimes defeat can seem strangely comforting. You drop onto those fluffy pillows of complacency where you expect little of yourself and perhaps little of life. But giving up is never as easy as it initially seems. The empty page is like a ghost that will follow you the rest of your life. Your story won't stop calling you. Here's the thing that those cowpokes in the westerns didn't know. The more you struggle to get out of quicksand, the more trapped you become. Okay, escaping quicksand is actually quite easy. Oh, your body is less dense than the sand, so all you have to do is relax and you'll float to the surface. Okay, that fixed itself. I was struggling there for a moment. The same principles applies to getting through the bogs of your novel. Your impulse might be to panic and thrash about, but the more frantically you try to lunge forward, the more likely you'll be to sink. If you relax, though, you can float back up to the surface of your story and catch another gust of wind. So turn off your computer for a few hours, watch an episode of Doctor Who, do a couple somersaults, do whatever it takes to feel a sense of lightness. If you don't know where your story is going, that's not a bad thing. View the blank page as an invitation to drop a bucket into the well of your imagination. Don't write what you know, write what you want to know. Begin with a detail, a mood. Keep expanding. Keep trying different angles. Find a sentence that surprises you. Switch points of view just for the sake of it, just to experiment. Remember, your mind is acrobatic. Your imagination can take you anywhere. Once you escape the quicksand, writing one sentence will lead you to another sentence, and soon you'll see the finish line on the horizon beckoning you. you'll know that you can keep going simply putting one foot in front of the other, and you'll sense this great gift waiting for you. The gift of your novel, the gift of your journey, the gift of your accomplishment. Plus, you'll know how to deal with quicksand the next time you step into it, in writing and in life. Trying to float, Grant Faulkner. Nice. Nice. And Tech Angel, hello, I see you there. How is everybody? Hope you guys had a great weekend. Sorry, I had to read that. I did read this. I did read the Neil Gaiman pep talk, and I also read the other one. Or did I read the Gaiman pep talk? I don't think I've read this one. This might also be a good one. Well, not might, it will be. Okay. Okay, I know I've read at least 2 others, but I don't think Neil's was one of them. So, we'll do another pep talk. It's from 2007, okay. There you go. This pep talk is from Neil Gaiman in 2007. Dear NaNoWriMo author, by now you're probably ready to give up. You're past the first fine, furious rapture when every character and idea is new and entertaining. You're not yet at the momentous downhill slide to the end, when words and images tumble out of your head sometimes faster than you can get them down on paper. You're in the middle, a little past the halfway point. The glamour has faded, the magic is gone, your back hurts from all the typing, your family, friends, and random email acquaintances have gone from being encouraging, or at least accepting, to now complaining that they never see you anymore, and that even when they do, you're preoccupied and no fun. You don't know why you started your novel. You no longer remember why you imagined that anyone would want to read it, and you're pretty sure that even if you finish it, it won't have been worth the time or energy, and every time you stop long enough to compare it to the one thing that you had in your head when you began, a glittering, brilliant, wonderful novel in which every word spits fire and burns, a book is good or better than the last book you've ever read, it falls so painfully short that you're pretty sure that it would be a mercy simply to delete the whole thing. Welcome to the club. That's how novels get written. You write. That's the hard bit and that nobody sees. You write on the good days and you write on the lousy days. Like a shark, you have to keep moving forward or you die. Writing may or may not be your salvation. It might or might not be your destiny, but that does not matter. What matters right now are the words, one after another. Find the next word. Write it down. Repeat. 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 A dry stone wall is a lovely thing when you see it bordering a field in the middle of nowhere, but it becomes more impressive when you realize that it was built without mortar, and that the builder needed to choose each interlocking stone and fit it in. Writing is like building a wall. It's a continual search for the word that will fit in the text in your mind on the page. Plot and character and metaphor and style, all these become secondary to the words. The wall builder erects her wall one rock at a time until she reaches the far end of the field. If she doesn't build it, it won't be there. So she looks down at her pile of rocks, picks the one that looks like it will best suit her purpose, and puts it in. The search for the words, or the search for the word, gets no easier, but nobody else is going to write your novel for you. The last novel I wrote, it was Anansi Boys, in case you were wondering. When I got 3/4 of the way through, I called my agent. I told her how stupid I felt writing something no one would ever want to read, how thin the characters were, how pointless the plot. I strongly suggested that I was ready to abandon this book and write something else instead, or perhaps I could abandon the book and take up a new life as a landscape gardener, bank robber, short-order cook, or marine biologist. And instead of sympathizing or agreeing with me, or blasting me forward with a wave of enthusiasm, or even arguing with me, she simply said, suspiciously, cheerfully, "Oh, you're at that part of the book, are you?" I was shocked. "You mean I've done this before? You don't remember?" "Not really." "Oh yes," she said. You do this every time you write a novel, but so do all my other clients." I didn't even get to feel unique in my despair. So I put down the phone and drove down to the coffee house in which I was writing the book, filled my pen, and carried on writing, one word after another. That's the only way that novels get written, and, short of elves coming in the night and turning your jumbled notes into chapter 9, it's the only way to do it. So keep on keeping on. Write another word, and then another. Pretty soon you'll be on the downward slide, and it's not impossible that soon you'll be at the end. Good luck, Neil Gaiman. That is amazing. this is amazing. Like, finding out that you're not the only person that goes through something like this is like, no, all my other clients do this. They're like halfway, 3/4 of the way through their freaking novel, and they're like, I give up. This is awful. This is atrocious. Oh my god. Oh, Tech Angel, this is such a good one. This is, oh my, my eyes are tearing up. This is such a good one. Oh. I want to Twitter the hell out of that. I don't know if I actually, I'm not gonna tag him in this. It's too weird. I'm not used to social media. Oh god. This person. Like, yeah. This pep talk is amazing and amazingly helpful. Even for me. Like, I may have finished the writing, like I got my 50,000 words, I'm done, but I'm at the point where he is right here. I'm like, everything seems kind of crappy. Why would anyone really want to read this? This is just no. Yeah. I mean, the reason why I only may read a few books a year is because of that sour taste from that one author left for me. It's not that I wouldn't read more than a few books in a year. I would totally read more than a few books in a year. Anyways, pep talks aside, let's refresh our group sprint. Melody Casey, a fellow streamer and writer and NaNoWriMo participant, is doing sprints.
Let the writing begin.
There's 17 minutes left in Melody's sprint. If you are a buddy of Melody, there you go. Attack, let me add that to my list of things to read. I can spell unfortunately. Okay. I actually have a list of things to read that I have not even looked at. This needs to live somewhere more visible than where it does now. Or I can put these on my Christmas wish list. That's right. For those of you that do celebrate a holiday where you give people gifts, either this month, next month, or any month, books. Put them on your wish list. If people are like, you know, what do you want for your birthday? And you're like, I don't know. And they're always like, you never know what you want for your birthday. Books. Paperbacks. Make sure they're out first though. And they're like in stores and either online or something, so they can already go, oh hey, that's right there. Ta-da! It's in my cart. Here we go. Editing. I am reading and lightly editing the story. Now that all the pep talks are aside, and sprinting is in the middle of being committed. Word sprinting, that is. Oh god, let me see. This vehicle's on. Oh. Let's see. Word win, there you are. I was creeping in your stream all yesterday and this morning, and Melody's stream too, and don't mind my little hair bit. My hair decided to do something a little weird, and I was just like, screw it, it's hair, let it do its thing. And Colton Oliver, hello, how are you doing? My music's just a little loud. Dear God, there we go. Oh, there we go, okay. I will keep posting the link to Melody's sprints. I might let Melody just handle all of the sprints since she's writing all day today. She went to PAX Unplugged over the weekend because her and her hubby are very prolific board gamers, and that was the whole point of PAX Unplugged. And they got back, I think, yesterday, and they decided to take today off because yesterday, like, the weekend was just jam-packed full of activities and stuff. So Melody is taking advantage of the time, and she's writing at least for a couple more hours, like 3 more hours or so. So we'll just be hopping in on Melody's word sprints, which I'm the only person, and I'm not even typing, are a part of. That's alright. That's alright. Anyways, Nano. I got my 50,000 words last Wednesday and decided to not write any more, but go back and read through things and piece together the different parts that I wrote because I had them in like 3 different documents. So I'm reading through, finding places to put those, lightly editing along the way, fixing some spelling, some grammar, some punctuation, and then I'll take it from there. I usually go through like 6 or 7 editing phases of my stories before I'm like, yeah, that's fine, I can live with this. So we're on the first phase. adding stuff in. So I'll be reading out loud and editing along the way. If anyone has any questions, comments, or other, please feel free to speak up in chat. I do not mind being interrupted during stream. That being said, if you are here to lurk, please enjoy your lurk. This place is nice and chill, great for some background noise, all that good stuff. I had to keep fiddling with my volume because the songs just don't want to stay at a nice even volume for me. That's alright. Okay. Everything is good. Everything is situated. We are situated. Let's do this. Okay. I have to psych myself up because reading out loud is kind of like public speaking, even though I can have a nice casual conversation. It's getting into it is always just a little like, you're gonna jump a gap and you need to get momentum to jump the gap, and you psych yourself out a few times so you don't jump the gap the first couple of times, and then you're just like, screw it, and you go for it. We got about 12 minutes left in this sprint. I'll do it, don't worry. I'll do it. Hang on. What is this one? Okay. What is this one? Okay. Oh, I see. That's okay. I also very hastily put together just a mini cover of basically just this, of the drawing that I did referencing this photo, of which I like the photo better than my drawing, but this little drawing is now my mini placeholder cover for the Nano website. For anyone who doesn't know, this is a calliope hummingbird. It's the smallest hummingbird in the not Pacific Northwest, but in North America. I don't know if it's the smallest hummingbird in the world, but it is definitely the smallest one on the North American continent-ish thing. Not the egg. Sorry, I gotta double check. This dude. Okay. Okay, the only ever smaller hummingbird species ever found was the bumblebee hummingbird, so it is one of the smallest hummingbirds in North America. Okay, just get my facts straight. I'm not a hummingbird expert. I had to do research to find out the things about the critters in the story. And Techno, hello, how are you doing? Hope you had a good weekend. Hope everyone is having a wonderful day so far, or at least a better one. I'm procrastinating, can you tell? 20 minutes of procrastination this time. Oh boy, alright. Bitter cold kept the frozen snow in ice until a break in the weather let the sun peek through the clouds enough to melt some of the dams that had built up. And Techno, thank you for the resub, much appreciated. You scared me. That scared me just a little bit. Thank you so much, Techno, for all the time that you have spent here and your support. I really do appreciate it. I know, my confidence has just deflated. Got about 9 minutes left in this sprint. Okay. It was the middle of winter and everyone knew that it was far from over. The season? That the season was far from over. There we go. Yes, please do save that. Snow could still fall. Storms could still pass. Things could still ice over. It didn't matter much for the young squirrels, though, who had slept through most of it and were tired of sleeping. Outside the home tree, all 7 squirrel brothers were jumping, running, and throwing snow at one another, laughing and playing while they could. They had been cooped up in the hollow for a very long time and had nearly drove their parents crazy. Chif had even run out of jokes and had to let the boys take over. I'm glad they can finally stretch their legs. Roxy looked back to Chif, who was counting their food supply for the 1000th time. Chif, it's all right. We have more than enough. He kept counting, ignoring his mate. Roxy sighed and walked over to him, her paws taking hold of one of his arms. Chif, it's going to be all right. She smiled with her eyes when he finally looked at her. He had been counting so he could distract himself from leaving the hollow. If he did leave, he would go straight to the commemoration site, which was too far to travel in the snow alone, and he wouldn't risk any of his family for something that would always be there. They'll be all right for the winter, Roxy reminded him. She knew just how he felt. He had nearly had a panic attack when he realized after his first game, I can talk, with their sons, that their ice wall would keep them inside for several more days, weeks even. Which it did. He couldn't stop his worries from pouring out, which made his whole family worry about him. Roxy had to explain that Chif was having such a difficult time moving on because Polly had been such a close friend. All of those happy memories he had shared were a strong bond between the two that the brothers could relate to. They had a similar bond with one another, and together they comforted him as much as possible. Let's watch the boys play for a little while, Chip nodded, letting his mate guide him over to the hollow and out onto the branch. Below them, through the branches, he saw the unfiltered joy bound around, laughing and enjoying the snow-covered world around them. He was happy they could enjoy it as much as they did, hoping they would never have to feel the overwhelming sense of loss he did. Is that what OBS looks like? Yes. Yes, it is. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. I did not realize that was... NVIDIA, I'm gonna snap you. I'm just gonna snap you right out of my freaking computer. This happened over the weekend. Sorry, you could hear a little bit of the Hulk rage. Freaking technology. So NVIDIA needed an update over the weekend, and I hit the update, and then it switched my monitors. Thank you, Techno. I did not even notice. But thank you. Oh, where is my... Okay, my little rage out. So I need to do something. Properties. Display capture. Capture my cursor. Yeah, that is behind the scenes of what my shit looks like. Okay, hang on. Well, aha, you can see the corner. You can see the corner. Hi. That's my my painting table over here. Let's see. Let's do this again. Let's add in. Let's add in, where is it? Display capture. I have to do this. I do apologize. Yep. Yep. Oh god. Not this one. Not this goddamn screen, please. Thank you. Yes, thank you. Frickin' A. Oh my god, I can't believe I didn't even look at this. Don't ring order. Move to the bottom. Thank you. Thank you. And then this, and then I wish I could more easily. Hang on. Hang on. Hang on, there we go. Oh! Colton Oliver, my first name is Jasmine. I do not mind being called Jasmo or even Jazz. Yes. I prefer the nicknames, but if you want to use my full name, that is totally fine. It is spelled Jasmin. No E. I think I have OBS fixed. Okay. Okay. I'm just gonna flip off my monitors and NVIDIA Shield just a little bit. I'm just, yeah. I'm just upset at it. I'm so upset at it. Okay. Okay. I need move on. Let's move on. Moving on. There's about 3 minutes left in this writing sprint. Okay. On the ground, the squirrel boys were playing, laughing, having fun, and just enjoying the fresh, cold air and soft, powdery snow. It was their first winter together, and new ideas for games bounced around as much as they did. Hyder was the first to look up at their parents to see if they were going to join them. What he saw pulled some of the joy back in, and he stilled. When his brothers noticed, they also went still and looked up. Scrolling. Roxy and Chip were holding one another. It looked as if she was consoling her mate, and the longer the boys stared, the more they wanted to do something for him. Maybe we can keep him distracted, Hyder asked quietly. His brothers gathered around him, their thoughts churning. Distracting won't help him through it, Ono said in a sudden bout of wisdom. Mom said he's having trouble moving on. He has to deal with it somehow. The brothers nodded, but still didn't know what to do. For now we can distract him, Scratcher suggested, or ask him about Polly. Would that hurt too much? Bounce asked. They looked at one another, their shoulders eventually shrugging. It would be nice to do something for him. Maybe get a glimpse of what he used to be like. Stuffer was curious. Stuffer was the most curious out of all of them. There we go. If he hasn't gotten over that part of his life already. Bounce looked up to their parents, wishing they could do something more. Well, that's a really tiny mecha paragraph. Okay. Okie dokie. Mecha. When Stomp and his family arrived at the place Perk had deemed their wintering grounds, that was what it looked like. Mecha. An enormous flat valley of grass and trees stretched beyond the horizon, nestled between two tall, snowy-covered mountain ranges, one of which they had crossed over on their journey together. Snow will still fall here, Perk told her family, but food will be more abundant underneath when it does. She looked across the line of her daughters, granddaughters, and one remaining son. She was proud of them for making it as far as they did. The most simple part of their journey was completed. They still had to make it through the winter weather, survive any predators that decided to stalk them, and make it back to the meadow in one piece. Even with all that ahead of them, Perk felt content and safe. Everything would be alright. Okay. Little note, add some more there. I'm only lightly editing, which means fixing spelling, punctuation, words, missing words, grammar, that sort of thing. And on the second one, they will be the more involved. And that's alright, Tag. That's totally alright. I can always turn my music down a little bit. Which I honestly think it has been too loud. I just haven't really decided to change it yet. Wow. My god, that time goes by really stupidly quick. 15 seconds for this sprint. Okay. I'll wait for it to go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Time's up.
Time's up. I'm gonna refresh here. There we go. Ah, Tech, you made it in there. Nice. We'll see what Melody does. And I think she'll probably give like a 10-minute break. I think Melody is doing like half-hour writing with 10-minute breaks. And I will just follow suit and let Melody do the sprint setup until she's done for the day, and then I'll take over. I can actually shout out people now. At least I hope so. Casey, yes. For anyone who doesn't know Melody Casey, she is also an amazing streamer here on Twitch. And Tech, you are too. Oh my god, we have so many people. There we go. There we go. Hey, I got my shoutout command working. Anyways, let's see if Melody is gonna put in. Oh, come on. Come on, yo. Melody, put in your word count. You can do it. Ah, Tech, you painted last night. Awesome. How did your desk building adventure go? We all are, Tech. We all are, definitely. Definitely. Melody's not gonna do it oh well. Let's see. I don't even know if she's gonna she might be talking a little bit much, but I'll keep refreshing. Okay, I'll read for a little bit and then check back in. So this part 2 doesn't actually need to be here. Because this whole thing is just a continuation all the way through of however long it's going to be. Oh yeah. You can do it, Melody. Maybe I have to hang on. Okay. Yeah, it sucks when you feel like you don't have a weekend if you work all weekend long. Then you need a break from your weekend. And the best you can do during the week is to try and do that in the evenings. And it doesn't always work out. Especially since, like, American holidays are right around the corner. Like, our Thanksgiving is this Thursday, and some people only get Thursday off. They don't get Friday off, so they have to, like, take Thursday off, go back to work Friday, and then have a weekend. But then there are other people who take, like, the entire week off. Or our school systems, this entire week is off. My mom is off because she's a teacher right now, so she's coming over in the mornings, and... Oh, Techno, I will be forever grateful for you for spotting my OBS mix-up, sorry. Anyways. You can does it. You can does it. Alright. Bright, warm sunshine lit everything aglow in the afternoon. Several days had passed while Hummer and One Leg waited for another flock of geese to arrive. Hummer was sinking back into his pessimism the longer they had to wait. When another flock finally did arrive, their destination was not the same, but they were going to head in the same direction for quite some time. One Leg asked to tag along, and they happily agreed, letting him take up the back of the formation. Flying was made easy for a few days until the flock needed to start heading inland. They still hadn't reached where One Leg needed to turn off. The image burned into his memory from when his father taught them the route before leaving. While it wasn't ideal to fly on alone, he did so, confident that they would run into another flock eventually. "Hey, Hummer?" One Leg asked as he soared high in the sky, alone. "Yeah?" Hummer poked his head up from his feathery home. "What's it going to be like for you when you get back to the meadow? Do you know?" The thought had recently nagged at the goose. He knew what his life would be like. What would it be like for the hummingbird raised by a family of squirrels? This is so weird to talk about. It's really weird reading this out loud. I'm like, Susie, start up another one. I guess, well, I'm not entirely sure, Hummer admitted. I kind of have a vague idea from what other older hummingbirds have told me when I asked. He positioned himself better, closer to One Leg's shoulder so they could hear each other more easily. I guess we mate when we get back and settle in. We males will go to a different neighboring meadow where the females live and put our practicing to use, attracting them. From what I understand, and it depends on the females, one or more might be attracted to any one of us, and we do our dance with them, and they go off to raise the eggs. Hummer's thoughts trailed off. The females would go raise their eggs without the males. Without him. You don't go raise the eggs with them? One Leg asked. Hummer didn't answer right away. He didn't answer long enough that his friend glanced back at him. No, he said quietly. That was the one thing he was looking forward to when he returned home. Starting a family of his own. He wouldn't even get to do that. Not unless he somehow convinced a female to help raise the eggs. Or a female. That he could help raise the eggs. There we go. Jesus, music. Startle. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. It was sinking in just what life was like for Hummer and how being raised by squirrels had really set him up to be continuously disappointed. He didn't know how to be a real bird other than flying and eating. It explained a lot how Hummer felt about the migration and how unnatural it felt to him. That needs to change. Oh, sure. Sure. Yeah, me too. Continuing on the reading in mid-sentence or thought is what it feels like. I just thought, you know, I would have a family of my own, like the one you already have, One Leg asked. He wasn't trying to be mean. He was trying to point out that Hummer did have a family of his own. Saving him from having his thoughts spiral downward once again. I know I already have one. Well, I know I have one already. Wow, dyslexic. I mean, raising a little bird of my own. Showing them how to fly, do tricks, play games, what flowers taste best. I couldn't really do that with my brothers. I've been surrounded by my family and others' families my whole life. It's all I know. There we go. He fell silent. A sneaking depression. Oh dear, fingers. Oop. Creeping up on him. It was a true sadness instead of negativity tainted with guilt. He truly would not be able to have a family of his own, which was the whole point of the story, actually. And we're just now getting to it at like the end. That's fine. I can spell. I'm sorry I brought it up, One Leg apologized. It was sincere and the feeling was well relayed to the hummingbird. It's alright, Hummer replied with a sigh. It would have come up eventually. If not now, then later. If not later, then back at home when it probably would have hurt even more. I'm glad you brought it up now, though. It will give me... There we go. It will give me... some time to think about it. Maybe even accept it. True, One Leg agreed. Just don't forget the family you already have. One Leg continued flying on with their heavy silence. In their heavy silence? Sure. Instead of with, let's do in. While Hummer thought about his life and how he could either have a family in some way or come to terms that he would simply not have one. He weighed the positive and the negative of both sides, as if it would matter, but it would make a compelling argument to females if any would listen. He had not really met any and wasn't sure what they were like. He had mostly spent time with other males that practiced their flying, diving, and shuttling so they could impress females later. Do you think Chiff would let me back in the family? The thought had occurred to him suddenly, but he didn't want to think about it. He knew his dad resented him for something he had done, but he couldn't remember what. Even the few times that Chiff treated him the same way as his brothers didn't give him any clues. Chiff is a bit rough around the edges, One Leg agreed. I don't see why he wouldn't. You didn't really leave the family. He was trying to avoid the obvious way Chiff ignored Hummer and the words that floated around saying how he resented the tiny bird. Animals liked to gossip, and it wasn't always good. I got new chapstick. Okay. I don't know about Chif, he continued, but I do know about Roxy. She loves you just as much as your brothers, and she would welcome you back no matter how long you've been gone. He emphasized his point with a head bob. Worst comes to worst, you could just ask him, too. Or you could just ask him. Sure. Hummer didn't really like the prospect of asking his squirrel dad to let him back into the family since he already knew his disposition, but One Leg was right. His mom would always welcome him back, and her love outshined Chip's cold shoulder any day. Can I? No? Okay. Okay. Silence became a close friend after their conversation, the land below them telling its own story as they flew along. They saw beaches, cliffs, forests, deserts, and more. In the water, strange, enormous creatures lurked below the surface, sending up spouts of mist every once in a while. Boats were also a common sight. Another thing that was made by people. All the sights were enough to keep Hummer distracted and One Leg scanning for a very long time, longer than One Leg ever thought possible. Okay, coffee. Night started to grow from the left, following the setting sun to the right. One Leg was still going strong, but didn't feel nearly as tired as he had been. He felt even more invigorated when he spied another flock just ahead of them, his hopes rising that he had finally caught up to his own family. As he neared, his hope was dashed, but it was still good he found someone he could fly with. "Hey!" he shouted and followed it by a honk. He caught the attention of a few geese who relayed the message up to the front. When they were all aware that a lone goose was chasing them down, they slowed until he could join in the back end of the draft. "Thanks," One Leg huffed. He had to flap pretty hard to catch up with the flock, but they all looked happy to help. "How long have you been flying?" the goose in front of One Leg asked. His head was turned all the way around, a feat he had never seen before. "Since early this morning," he answered back. "All right. We were planning on landing in a few hours. Think you can hold out that long?" "I can now," One Leg smiled with his eyes, grateful that all the geese they had met along the way were so helpful and nice. Night flying was something of a different experience for One Leg and Hummer. They had seen the stars and clouds before, but not at such a height. They both felt close enough to reach out and touch the little shining lights. Below them they could hardly see a thing other than the ground's own shining lights. It was something neither had seen, and it needed explaining. People made the lights. They somehow captured it and held it in tiny clear containers that looked like solid tears. Okay. So many firsts, Hummer mumbled to himself. It made him yearn for his brothers so he could tell them all about the things he had seen and experienced. At least it gave him something better to look forward to when he got back to the meadow. He held on to that thought tightly, already wording the stories in his head that continued on into his dreams. Ah!
Ding! Let the writing begin.
Got about 26 and a half minutes in this sprint. I didn't refresh. I got caught up reading. That's alright. Hummer woke to hearing strange voices mixed with chuckling purrs. He could tell the voices belonged to geese, but he wasn't sure who the geese were. "Are we there yet?" Hummer asked, muffled under One Leg's feathers. He felt his friend shift with more words, with curious tones piping in. "Who's that?" a voice asked. "Oh, it's nothing," One Leg told them, his wing moving to keep Hummer from popping above his feathers. That wasn't a voice? One Leg! The muffled shout reached the ears of everyone nearby. One Leg huffed a sigh, removing his wings so the hummingbird could flit up and scold him for trying to suffocate him. "I asked, are we there yet?" Hummer firmly repeated. Hummer, bleh, you intones. Oh my god. Inflections there. One Leg wasn't looking at him. The expression in his eyes in a strong cringe. The expression in his eyes was a strong cringe. There you go. Hummer didn't know why until he looked around them. They were surrounded by stunned-looking geese. As his eyes gazed over the other feathered bodies, one fainted. I am so bad at reading. I do apologize. I'm kind of flustered, apparently. It's true, someone whispered, and it kept traveling around. Hummer turned with a wave, noticing that there were many more geese than he remembered being in the flock. It is true! Look, he's right there! A wing jutted out to point to a bewildered Hummer. More whispers rolled through the bodies until Hummer couldn't take it anymore. Yes, I am a hummingbird. What's so special about that? An elderly goose stepped forward. We've only heard rumors of a small flock or two that carried hummingbirds for the migration. It's nearly a myth for us, he said in wonder. To see it be true is quite the sight. Agreement rolled through the crowd. So you've never met any geese like me? One leg asked, shifting the focus back to himself. Several geese shook their heads. That means you aren't going where we are, then. He slumped a little bit, but they were actually very close to their destination. They had arrived at a point on the coast he recognized as the area he needed to turn inland at. Words. From what you've told us, you'll be flying just north of it, or will be flying just north of it. We've seen the lake before, the older goose reassured them. We're only a few days away at most. One leg nodded. At least they would make it there in one piece. We're still curious, another goose interrupted. How did your family come to transport hummingbirds? The stuffiness encroaches. Okay. I do have to pause from time to time to let my throat and voice rest, because this reading out loud for extended periods of time, it hurts. just a touch. Okay. We need to change the music. One leg heaved a light-hearted sigh, readying himself for the onslaught of questions and storytelling. Hummer also settled in, not wanting to abandon his friend to the crowd. Both Goose and Hummingbird spent the rest of the day telling their story about their relationships as far as they knew, plus more about themselves in general. They thought a hummingbird riding a goose for migration was... oh, that's mythical. The other geese... there you go. Thought a hummingbird riding a goose for migration was mythical. The crowd around them was much more surprised to find out Hummer was raised by a family of squirrels. They were curious as to how he learned the bird ways and related that he did have a mentor, but there were still gaps in his knowledge and education that were slowly being filled in along their journey. He added on that he hoped he would learn even more when they finally made it to the lake and spent the next few months enjoying the warm weather. In safety? I'll leave it. That is wonderful. The sentiment of the geese was shared around the flock when the two finally finished their stories. Now they had one of their own they could share with other flocks they ran into. One flock they were going to run into is headed more towards where the pair was headed. Okay. Actually. Bye. There we go. Because they're already flying just north, and I don't think I said that they left. So instead of deleting all of that, I will highlight it. I'll highlight it a bright orangey red. Oh, that foobars the eyes a little bit. Okay. Oh, thanks for telling us. One leg bobbed his head, once again grateful that geese were so helpful. Knowing they could flock hop to their destination took most of the worry out of the last leg of their journey. Okay, so maybe I didn't need to. Yeah, premature. There we go. Finish grazing, everyone. We'll settle in for the night, and we'll be leaving bright and early tomorrow morning. They looked around to get confirmation before heading off in their own direction, leaving the flock to mill about. Okay, that was the boss. The boss goose. Boss goose was saying that. Okay. Lightly editing. Okay. Because I want to read through the whole thing this week. And I will be streaming on Thursday and Friday, but I will be streaming in the mornings. Got about 20 minutes left in this sprint. But it is also, right now, my break time. Yep, I'm gonna get up, stretch, walk around the house a little bit, and if you have been watching or writing for a while, I highly encourage you to do the same. Unless you are doing the sprint, then good luck, have fun. I will meet you guys back here in about 3 minutes. Alright, we are back. Everything looks a-okay. Got about a little less than 17 minutes left in this sprint, in Melody's sprint. And Krasdy Rider, hello to you too. Good afternoon. Hope you had a wonderful weekend and you're having a wonderful day today. If you have not read Nano's pep talks, you should. I read them out loud. Okay, well, this is the official 2017 pep talk from Grant Faulkner, and then there's one from 2007 from Neil Gaiman. That are, if you're struggling on your writings, or you're getting drained, or to the point where it's just like, this sucks, those will help. Definitely. All right, here we go. More reading. More reading. I think I'm tucked out for the next year, Hummer complained lightly. He sat on a thick flower stem next to One Leg, who nodded in agreement. He had never spoken so much or answered so many questions in his short life. If we're going to be flock hopping the rest of the way there, One Leg let his words hang in the air so that Hummer could finish the sentence. I'll stay low, he concluded. I'd rather not go through that again. Together the birds finished out their day grazing and idly chatting with the other flock members until it was time to sleep. The stars had already rose high into the sky when Hummer glanced up, his mind refusing to shut down for the evening. One leg? Hummer asked quietly. He could hear his friend breathing deeply. He was asleep. What do you do when you can't fall asleep? Do you think of sleep? He paused but received no response. That's alright. When Oh No couldn't sleep, Mom would snuggle around him until he settled down. Oof. I guess I could do that. He did snuggle down into One Leg's feathers until just his beak was showing. When it was warm, but the feathers pressing down on him were comforting. Was comforting? Were the awful words. Ugh. His last thoughts were of his brothers all huddled together to wait out the cold winter. I also need to figure out where a good break is. Hang on. Apparently, oh my god, this is a mess. It feels like I'm putting together Frankenstein's monster. Because I wrote the main body of the story. The Pine Lord, hello, good afternoon. Thank you so much for the bits. Cheers to you. Good to see you again. Hope you're having a wonderful day today. I'm not gonna complain about how I'm piecing this thing together. I'm just gonna keep going. And it's probably at the part 2 where I'll sneak in the other parts, which I don't know where to put them. Actually, probably this one. Probably the eagle first. Okay, eagle first, sharp first. Sharp stories first. There we go. There we go, okay. Doo-ba-doo-ba-doo. Alright, yeah, we're all good. All good, okay. One leg. Oh dear. I'm having a pretty good day today. I think I have a little bit too much energy trying to break free. So my thoughts are in like 10 different places at once. It's a little bit difficult reading, but other than that, it's been a pretty good, nice day. I'm sitting in on Melody's sprints. So are some others. and yeah. Yep, I'm moving on before my thoughts go out the window. One leg let Hummer sleep in later than usual, there you go, so they wouldn't be bothered as much. Oh. So the two of them wouldn't be bothered as much. There were a few female geese that simply couldn't get enough of him because he was so small and cute. It gave them the perfect excuse to distract them, then go on to talk about things they had to deal with, how hard the migration had been, and so on. Okay. By the time they were all ready to leave, Hummer was hastily sipping nectar, wondering why One Leg hadn't woken him up. There you go. When he saw the geese that almost wouldn't leave them alone from the day before, he suddenly understood. I'm okay. Group by small group, the geese started to take off away from the coast. The sight of only land beneath them was something of a comfort other than the lack of thermals to help push them higher in the air. One Leg missed the thermals until he felt gentle, warm drafts that made gliding a bit easier. Hummer was certainly lucky not having to fly for the migration. It had been painful, exhausting, and One Leg was pretty sick of it. He kept his thoughts focused, though. They were so close to their goal, he could hear his parents honking. All the honking, goose honking. 11 minutes left in this sprint. A day later, the pair was with another flock of geese, but they took off immediately, not really giving One Leg a break. He didn't mind since it gave him no time for gossiping. And making it to the lake was the only thing on his mind. There we go. Hummer stayed low, trying not to make any sounds. It was difficult since he wanted to strike up a conversation, but it wouldn't have been wise. Taking the time to tell their story was time they couldn't spare. To pass what time they did have left before landing, he tried to think of new games he could play with his brothers when he got back. When those thoughts ran out, he went back to crafting his tale for them. When those thoughts ran out, he peeked between One Leg's feathers to get a view of the sky to try and keep track of time. Bright blue sky lilted into purples, followed by pinks, oranges, then gold with the setting sun. When they landed, it was nearly dark, giving the small hummingbird the perfect opportunity to sneak away so he could grab a bite to eat. One leg made sure to give him some cover, even when they settled down for the night and spoke to each other in whispers. "We should almost be there," One Leg told his friend. He had opted to stay a little ways away from the flock for the night. "We might even see the lake by sometime tomorrow." "I'll be glad when we do," Hummer sighed heavily. He was more than ready for their journey to be over so they could stay in one place. Yeah. Hey, how are you holding up? Still restless at night? A bit. I picture Mom snuggling in for the night and it helps. There we go. One Leg nodded, glad that Hummer had found something that helped him get to sleep. "Well, think of her again and hopefully tomorrow we'll be able to sit still for more than a night." Hummer nodded, his tiny little body burrowing into One Leg's feathers, the thought of all those firsts and all those lasts trailing him into sleep. There you go. One Leg woke with extra energy, all ready to go. He was actually the first one up and started to nudge others awake so they could leave sooner, even sooner. He was nearly dancing before takeoff. "Stay calm," One Leg told himself in the air. "Don't want to get too excited and miss where we're actually supposed to go, like the wrong lake or pond." Geese in the flock were changing positions when One Leg thought he saw the edge of the lake. He contained himself until they were closer. It certainly started to look like what Span had told him, an oval with a foot carved out at the bottom. "I think this is your lake," someone called to him. The flock diverted until they could all clearly see it. "We'll fly with you until you spot your family," another called. They banked hard to the right, giving One Leg a good view. The lake was very large, but he knew what side they'd be on. "West Edge," One Leg called, and the flock headed to line up with that side. Taking their time, they started to descend just enough that other birds on the lake could be made out. Oh my god. All sorts were floating around, some in greater numbers than the other ducks and geese combined. Oh, my words. It was like a mecca for waterfowl. I'm trying to fan myself. Small break for the voice here. Just a tiny one. I'm a jerk. I don't think I posted the link to the sprint. There it is. There it is. I'll be happy when I don't have to read out loud anymore. Got about 7 minutes left in this sprint. Hummer poked his face out into the open to get a look at the lake. It was many times larger than the pond in the meadow, but didn't go on endlessly like the ocean they had flown over for so many days. Picking out One Leg's family was going to take some time. "There!" One Leg shouted, a victorious hunk leaving him. He saw Braun, his larger brother, flapping his wings while floating on the water below them. He was looking up at the sky and started honking when he recognized his little brother, which had to be a feat. He had been really paying attention. One Leg thanked the flock that let them fly with him before carefully peeling away so he could land on the water. His family was already gathering, but still leaving him room to ski in. On the shore, the other bird families were also gathering, the tiny burrowing owls letting out their own small cries of triumph. There we go. Skiing gently to a stop in the cool, deep water, One Leg wasted no time in swimming towards his family. They quickly closed the gap and even started to smother him in head rubs and wing spreads, too many voices speaking at once. Okay. Hummer had to hang on tightly so he wouldn't be thrown off again. He was biding his time until things calmed down enough that he could exit the safety of One Leg's feathers. When he did, so many eyes lit up at the sight of him that he had to buzz higher in the air so as not to be crushed. There you go, with more head rubs. Hummer! The excitement. The excitement exploded again until he sheepishly started to head for the shore. The geese were beside themselves at their rudeness and followed him over, trying to keep their joy contained. We were starting to worry you wouldn't make it. Beige looked with concerned eyes at Hummer and her son. Span and I were going to go back to the coast to wait for you if you didn't arrive within the next few days. We told them you were just fine, Ron assured them. Dad taught us well enough that you'd be able to find your way here. He nudged his brother with a hefty wing, his eyes smiling. Tag Angel, nice. Congratulations to the best random scene ever. Writing the best random scene ever. Oh. If you'd like to post it in chat, please do so. Let's see. Mage finally made his way over from the field he had been in when the honks started. He was out of breath, but when he saw Hummer and One Leg, he buzzed right over, nearly running into the young hummingbird. Oh, your mother would have killed me if you didn't make it, were the first words out of Mage's mouth. Hummer let out a squeak of a laugh. She would have. Oh, which serious tone is serious. Are you two all right? What happened after we got separated? Sandy looked between the two expectantly. We wouldn't mind resting a bit first, sis, before we get into that, One Leg answered for them both. She nodded, and so did everyone else, even the owls. It must have been a long trip, Grumps said wisely. It was, Hummer agreed. Okay. Okay. We have a place. We have a place. Don't mind that it's pink. It's okay that it's pink. Scene 4? Shoot. Got about 3 minutes left in this sprint. Scene 3. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Okay. It's not very long. It's okay. There. Okay. So, yes, that can go away. That can go away. What is the one after that? Okay. Really long. Okay. So... I'm finding, hopefully, places to put these things. Okay. Or, I should say... Okay. Now I'm gonna scroll, watch your eyes. Watch your eyes. Okay. I think this is the perfect spot to put the last of the broken pieces together. Got about a minute left in the sprint. Yeah, judging by how many pages are left. And... Okay. 30 seconds or so. Alright, scrolling until I hit the blue. That seems about right. At least, like, visually for balance. I don't know, story-wise, it could just be... It could be awful. I don't know. 10 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Bing! Time's up.
Time's up on Melody's sprint. Alright. Also, let me rest the voice a little bit. So... Yes, okay. I don't know if I want to add more there, but it would probably be nice to since it's a very short intermission. And this is Sharp, right? Yeah, that's Sharp's interjection. Okay. Excuse me. Excuse me. I'm not tired. It takes a lot of effort to talk so long. So actually, now that the entirety of this is in here, what is... Okay. So as I've been lightly editing, apparently I've added around 521 words. Which is weird, because I thought I've taken out more than I've put in. Anyways, this is the entire story. Before finishing lightly editing it, is at 50,721. Okay. Pleh. Pleh. I'm just, Nice. Progress, people, progress. Oh my god, Tech Angel, that was awesome progress. Nice. Nice. Okay. Completed. Yep, that is okay. I will read on and hopefully not miss Melody's next word sprint. Okay. Which might be happening in like 5 or 10 minutes or so, so maybe at like 20 after the hour, or at the half hour. I have no idea when her next sprint is going to be. Apparently when I talk a whole lot and I'm just sitting, my nose gets stuffy. It's not allergies, it's not because it's cold outside, I'm not getting sick, it's just... I'm not breathing through my nose enough. Okay, anyways. Oh god, no. This, save this, thank you, Jesus Christ. Whew. Okay, music, you are harsh. Stop being harsh. Thank you. It's intense, not harsh. Okay. There. Okay, here we go. Freezing temperature struck the broad valley harder than anyone had expected. None of them could have foreseen just how awful the weather would be, nearly decimating the food supply for every living creature other than people. Forever. Sharp found himself, midwinter, doing what he knew the circle had in store for them all. Recycling one of the young does he had followed. The others were barely surviving off of what they could find. But the young one, the youngest of them all, simply hadn't gotten enough fat or fur while she could to keep her safe through the frigid temperatures. Stomp and his mother, Perk, along with the others, did try their very best to keep them safe, but, in the end, the circle claimed her and provided not only food for Sharp, but for a few other birds of prey as well. Birds of prey, and animals. Scavengers, sure, as well. Sadly, it was hardly enough. Tech, you're gonna have to link what you wrote. I want to enjoy it with you. Food became less and less available as time moved horridly slow. Sharp and the others had never seen anything like it before, wondering what had changed in their world to cause such an extreme case of weather to happen where it had never happened before. They were unsure what caused it, but they were sure what would happen if it kept up. None of them would survive. It did not send Tech. It did not. And you can only post so much in the Twitch chat box before it will cut it off. You could take a screen cap of it. Something like that, yes. Okay. Somewhere at the tail end of winter, right when it mattered most for everyone, things started to warm up. The ground began to thaw, uncovering not only grass but preserved animals as well, creating a sort of feast that nearly everyone gorged themselves on when they could. When the meat ran out for the predators, they had a choice. Try hunting while it was still too cold to do so, or try and wait out the weather a bit longer. Either way, they would end up starving if the weather didn't continue to warm. Sharp made the decision to return to the meadow. He had fed more than the other birds, his size keeping them away from whatever he had found, giving him the opportunity to decide what to do, rather than keeping him stuck somewhere that had the potential to be his demise. He knew if he had traveled and it kept getting warmer that he would eventually find more carrion or fresh meat from animals coming out of their burrows and nests. Sure. It sounded better than waiting for another animal to succumb to the weather, if any of them did. Taking one last long look at the deer, Sharp committed their physical states to memory, searing in the thinned, weakened bodies. At the very least, he was determined to return to the meadow to give the others a report on the deer, letting them know that there was a chance of not seeing them again. With a pessimistic determination, Sharp left them, glad that they had understood and accepted his earlier actions. Earlier in the winter. There you go. It made him feel as if Chiff would be willing to also be understanding when he met the squirrel again. That particular thought was not appealing to Sharp. It had been a thought he successfully avoided throughout the winter. He knew Chiff was more sensitive than the other animals because of his close relationship with Polly. It was why he had avoided the squirrel after the commemoration, and why he continued to want to do so. Avoiding things that wasn't something he enjoyed doing, though. He needed to confront the squirrel sooner or later, reinforcing that the circle couldn't be avoided, and it wasn't a malicious thing. It was simply a part of all of their lives, and there was nothing they could do but accept it. What is with this? No! There. Better. Okay, here we go. Purple text. Purpley blue. It's cornflower blue. Oh, let me check. Yes. Okay, we're probably like a few minutes late. Oh no, it's gonna start in 5 minutes. Yes. Okay. So in 5 minutes, there's going to be another 30-minute sprint. Writing sprint going on. And a timer will bing when it starts. So, warmer air started to push its way in from the west, melting the top layers of snow from the winter. Capitalized. There we go. The meadow was starting to come alive a little more each morning. The squirrels were the first to go out scouting to make sure others were still safe. Chiff didn't want his boys finding anyone they knew that had been caught out in the brutal winter on the ground where he found himself. The rest of his family were in the trees, taking stock of any damages done by the heavy snows. Shading off the larger amount of wet stuff. What? Shedding off the larger amount of wet stuff so it wouldn't crush anyone later. Okay. Shaking. I think it's shaking off. basically go around to the trees where the snow is really heavy and shake them while everyone is still cooped up in their shelters so that no one would be crushed. Yeah. He trusted Roxy to keep him there. To keep them there? While he started to come through the snow. Yeah, to keep them there. Their sons there. Okay. Wow, I must have been I think I was in a rush on this particular part. Is this the 5 or 6? 5. Okay. Yeah. Okay. But fun fact, I do believe everything I have written for this story has now been on stream. There was about 1,200 words that I did not stream because I had missed a day and wrote that much over the weekend. But I think we've passed that point, or we are passing that point. So all of the story has now been on stream, or it will be today or tomorrow.